how's it going, everyone? This is the Anime Man. The world of anime and manga really has no bounds when it comes to storytelling. They can follow the craziest characters doing the craziest set of things in the most fantastically unimaginable places in the world. And yet, even though there are so many fantastic anime series that do manage to do that, we still see a lot of goddamn high school anime. Now look, I'm absolutely not opposed to high school anime to a certain extent. There have been countless anime series that have been able to take the high school setting and turned it into something unimaginably cool. And also, if you think about it, it actually makes a lot of sense that there is a lot of high school anime. I mean, most anime watchers nowadays do tend to fall into this age bracket, starting as low as in the teens and going all the way up into the 30s and 40s, where the middle of that age bracket just so happens to fall into the adolescence umbrella. And what better place to explore the adolescent shifts in people's minds and the puberty-driven development of a certain person than a place that most people, if not all people in the world, have been to and experienced at least once in their lifetimes. High school. Unless you just happen to drop out of middle school, in which case just pretend for argument's sake, okay? But today I'm not here to talk about the roots of high school anime or why high school anime exists in the first place. Rather, I'm here to point out some clear discrepancies between high school that is portrayed in anime and actual existing Japanese high schools. Because if you're one of the many people who have ever dreamed of going to a high school in Japan because you watched a bunch of high school anime series, and I know you're out there, don't lie, then rejoice as I, Joey, the crusher of weeb dreams, is here to do exactly what the title of this video is saying. And of course, to help your boy, I had to bring along our weeb culture expert, Gaijin Goombah, to help spread the damage.
Well, geez, man, I don't know if I'm supposed to take that as an insult or a compliment, but either way, hey everyone, Gaijin Goombah here.
Now firstly, let me just clarify in saying that I think everybody watching this video knows, and I think most people who watch high school anime know, that how high school is portrayed in anime is clearly over the top to what you actually experience in real life. You know, I'm talking about the obvious points that don't even need to be explained why they're fiction. Stuff like, the protagonist is the sole male character in an all-girls high school. All the students in the school have magic powers and have to train every day in a fighting suit robot. Every student in the school has pastel-colored hair that has its own goddamn gravity.
But that's a completely other different thing, because today we're going to be talking about the more realistic representation of high school in anime, with things like romance, drama, and slice of life. Because while real high schools might be the model for these anime high schools, when it comes to these anime high schools, they don't even come close to the actual thing. And the following are only just a few examples.
The rooftops are closed. In a lot of anime, there are scenes where the characters go onto the roof of the school and do all sorts of activities. Some of them go up there to eat lunch, or watch the sunset, or confess to their lovers, or just have full-blown butt schmecks. I mean, I'm not lying, it's just not really in anime, but more in hentai. Unfortunately though, in almost all Japanese high schools, this rooftop area is actually completely closed off to all students. Some anime that I've seen have actually been able to represent this quite accurately to real life by either completely locking the doors to the rooftop or just having no access to the rooftop whatsoever. But the general consensus from a lot of people who do watch those kinds of anime are, oh, I can go onto the roof and confess to my waifu. Coolio. Unfortunately though, due to many safety reasons, this is a completely no-go zone and for most part, very inaccurate to real life high schools. We don't want a Katawa Shoujo thing happening in real life now, do we?
Great advancements. In a handful of anime, we've seen super genius students who have actually jumped up a few grades, and the most famous example being Chio-chan from Azumanga Daioh, who leapt from kindergarten to freaking high school. And while the Japanese education system does encourage intelligence and hardworking students, the system doesn't really reward or even help advanced students. It isn't rare to hear about students jumping grades in Western schools because of their exceeding levels of intelligence, but in Japan, this notion is almost unheard of. And this goes for students who require additional attention too. No matter how smart you are, if you're in the 5th grade, you're staying in the 5th grade like everyone else. Everyone grows together, period.
Student Council Authority. In almost all high school anime, you'll see a certain group of students who are treated as the quote-unquote most powerful students in the school. They're usually part of groups like the student council, the discipline committee, or that one rich kid who just so happens to be the child of the school's chief director a la principal. But in reality, these kinds of students very rarely exist at all, and if they do, They're treated like every other student in the school. While yes, student councils are more likely to exist in Japanese high schools, they're not really this all-powerful deity of a group that is made out in a lot of high school anime, but rather a bunch of students who take care of all the boring paperwork that nobody else wants to really take care of. They do everything from organizing school group activities and events, handling all the paperwork and organizations for school clubs, you know, all the tedious chores that no one wants to touch with a 10-foot stick. And concerning things like the discipline committee that you tend to see in a lot of high school anime, there are probably more Japanese high schools out there that don't have such committee than those that do. It's usually more of the strict private schools that would maybe have those kinds of committees because they're so well adjusted when it comes to mannerisms. But even if they do, it's more the teachers that would take care of that kind of stuff rather than some kind of student body. I'm assuming the reason why these kinds of student bodies are so powerfully interpreted in anime is because of the real life hierarchy between students in a school, the whole senpai and kohai hierarchy that exists. And you gotta admit that kind of interpretation of these so-called student bodies definitely makes a lot of high school anime way more entertaining to watch.
Crazy hairstyles. I think it's pretty obvious that when we say crazy hairstyles, we're not talking about the contemporary grandiose artwork masterpieces of hair in series like Yu-Gi-Oh! But in most anime, high school characters have different colored hair and styles so that the viewers can quickly distinguish the different characters just by looking at them. But in real life, oh, you better believe that everyone's gonna have the same hair color. Black, unless you've got foreign blood in you. It's all about what your natural color is. Oh, and makeup, long nails, piercings, facial hair, kiss those goodbye. I remember at the very beginning of the semester, kids would get rounded up and looked over in detail. If anything was out of place or against school code, they got sent home immediately.
Love letters in the shoebox. I wouldn't say this is exactly an outdated element in high school life, but it certainly is a lot more glorified in anime. I'd say the main reason why most real-life high school students would ever put love letters in shoeboxes is because they were actually influenced by anime to do so, and not the other way around. Especially considering that nowadays, since a lot of high school students have things like smartphones and other technologies, it certainly seems like an outdated thing from a technological standpoint. In fact, there are even cases in anime where they show characters putting love letters in a shoebox, but they actually make fun of the fact that it's an outdated thing. And there are even some other anime series that take that in a more positive light and actually glorify it because it's outdated. So basically, there are anime series that make fun of putting love letters in a shoebox for being outdated when anime was the thing that started the whole outdated thing. That is so meta and it hurts my brain. But I don't blame them. I feel there's a lot of people, especially around our age bracket, that really does yearn for that very simplistic way of showing romance, like putting love letters in a shoebox. I mean, I'm just gonna say I would have loved it if I was back in high school and I found a love letter in a shoebox. I thought it would have been really charming and cute. Except for the fact that, I went to an all-boys school. So that's a whole lot of no homo.
After school clubs. As much as we'd love to be chilling out with our friends in Yuri-Yuri's amusement club, trying to make friends in Haganai's friends club, or even unknowingly trying to stop the world from imploding on itself in Suzumiya Haruhi's SOS Brigade, the rather boring reality of Japanese high schools is that, well, they don't quite allow that. I know that kinda sucks, and trust me, if there was a cult club in the school I worked at, you'd better believe that my job would have been a lot more interesting. But the fact of the matter is that these clubs really are no different from the clubs that we form here in the West. There's clubs for sports, culture, music, but sadly no clubs for the supernatural. Also, fun fact, if Haruhi Suzumiya tried to establish her SOS Brigade in real life, yeah, that crap would have gotten shut down immediately. Teacher sponsors are absolutely critical for the formation and continuation of clubs.
Vividly colored school uniforms. One thing I see a lot of people praising, especially in the more casual cosplaying community, is the awesome looking school uniforms that a lot of anime tend to have. Think of any color palette and I guarantee there is at least one anime school uniform out there that fits it in any possible way. Some of them look awesome just as a basic fashion point, while there are others that make me question if the designer of the uniform was legally colorblind. But unfortunately, real Japanese high school uniforms are very bland in comparison. They generally only have a tiny selection of color palettes, usually consisting of rather plain and darker colors like black, white, navy blue, and grey, which some people may argue is still cute enough to wear in some circumstances, and I absolutely agree. I think there are some regular Japanese school uniforms that exists in real Japanese high schools, which I think look really cute just as themselves. But if you've thought about attending a Japanese high school after watching your favorite high school anime with the most wackedly colored and wackedly designed uniforms you've ever seen, then I suggest you don't go and you just stick to cosplaying them. Or you can wait to go to a Japanese university where you can wear whatever the hell you want. So if you wanted to cosplay as those wacky anime high school uniforms, then go ahead. Or if you don't want to go to school, then just come to Japan, go to Harajuku, which is called Fashion Street over here, and look at all the crazy Harajuku fashion that you probably will blow your mind at. Look, I'm no fashionista or anything, but sometimes when I walk down the streets of Harajuku and I see those wacky costumes and clothes that some people wear, I'm just thinking to myself, y'all need Jesus. Or a cosplay crew. So there you have it, guys. That was just some of the discrepancies between anime high schools and real life Japanese high schools. Look, I mean, there are obviously some other smaller discrepancies that are really specific towards different series, but let's just say for the most part, I think a lot of anime high schools do quite accurately show what a real Japanese high school looks like, so long as it's not completely over the top.
So let us know in the comments below what you thought of these discrepancies, and if you had your own discrepancies about high school anime versus real life. Also, Joey and I did a video over on my channel talking about how My Hero Academia might be one of the most important teaching tools to high school kids in the modern era. So be sure to go check that out by hitting the link in the description below.
Also, don't forget to subscribe to me and my bro Gaijin Goombah for more anime and otaku culture nuggets that you can share with your weeaboo friends to crush their dreams with. And last but not least, a special thank you to Corey Williams, Summer Jade Constable, HK Yaichi, Chris Turanek, Liam Oliver, Nenna 18, Jiro Katsu, Shin Yang Louis, Bogdan Aksenenko, and everybody else on my Patreon who supports me every single month. This was actually a topic that a lot of people were requesting over on my Patreon, so if you'd like to join in on more creative endeavors with me, then make sure to click that first link in the description below to follow your boy. Anyways guys, thanks for watching. As always, like and favorite if you enjoy, subscribe for more anime banner, and I'll see you guys next video of whatever I make. Keep watching anime. Johnny!